Radha Shivasari Gaura Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shivasari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hari Bol, 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 Hari Hari bol, 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 Nitya Gaura Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Sachidanand, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachidanand, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachidanand, Jaya Gaura Hari, Jaya Sachidanand. Jaya Gaura Hari, Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha, Madan Mohan Radha, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe, Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe, Jaya Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe, Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe, Radhe 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Habika Giridhari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Satchinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om Astotara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om Astotara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Shila Gaur Kishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Saptam Goswami Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol Om Aginatimirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmaya Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Prabhajantamanapetyam Apetykrityam Dvaipayino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tammayatayo Taravo Vinedustam Sarvabhutam Munim Vidinatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshai Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Prinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Varadram Tato Mamanasti Katyana Kapi Anapita Chirim Chirat Kuruna Vatino Kalo Samarpaitam Unnata Ujjvala Samsvabhakti Shriyam Haripurata Sundarata Dikatam Basadipita Siddhartha Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. And the same again, millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again unto our beloved Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namani Gaura Shakti Swarabhaya Rupanugavarayate Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. And our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. So, coming to our Jaiva Dharma study, Falshruti, the first 5 verses, yes.
पृथिवीयत
Prithiviteyata
कथे
katha dharma
धर्म
nama
नाम
chale
चले
bhagavata
भागवत
kahe
काहे
shaba
सब
paripurna
परिपूर्ण
chale.
चले. As indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, second shloka, all the philosophies on earth that are celebrated as dharma are utterly deceptive.
Chala dharma
Dharma
chale kare
chalikare satya
satya
dharma
dharma mati
mati
chaturvargya
chaturvargatya
jidara
jidara nitya
nitya prema
prema
gati.
gati. One should completely abandon such deceptive dharmas and absorb his mind in true dharma. In other words, one should give up the fourfold goals of material life dharma, artha, kama, moksha and aspire solely for the ultimate destination of Nitya Prem.
So first of all, he must know what is true dharma. We're hearing what it's not. It's not dharma, artha, kama, moksha. This is not true dharma. There is more than this. Vedavyas was also considering that this was the ultimate. Many sages throughout history have also thought this is the ultimate. But without the exceptional, special mercy of Sachinandan Gaurahari, we would not be able at all to go further. Why? Because we would not understood what is bhakti ras. Mahaprabhu has given us the conception of bhakti ras. And what does bhakti ras depend on? It depends on parakiya ras. If there is no parakiya, then there cannot be bhakti ras. This unnata ujvala ras, this is dependent on the mood of parakiya for its speciality. It can only reach that pinnacle of devotion with the conception of parakiya ras. And that is a very difficult conception for traditional Vaishnavas to absorb. They would always be shy for that. Even Jiva Goswami had to write many times about Swakiya Ras, the Lord's marital relationships in Dwarka as being the pinnacle, just to pacify the Brahmin caste. But Mahaprabhu, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was able to gift this in such a way and make the Vrindavan pastime so incredibly attractive that we would understand, yes, this must be the Lord's eternal pastimes, because there's nothing more attractive than these pastimes with the backdrop of Parakiya. Radharani going for her secret rendezvous each evening and sometimes being hijacked by Chandravali on the way, and Padma and Saiba and other gopis also, and all of Krishna's wandering amongst his Shaktis, amongst the other gopis, and then the whole dynamic of prem between Radha and Krishna. Sometimes Krishna's coming into the Kunj with other marks of other lovers on his body. Radhika has to go into what sort of pastimes are these for the traditional Vaishnava? Very difficult to contemplate. But when Mahaprabhu comes and demonstrates through his own total ecstasy and absorption, Mahaprabhu is non-different to Radhika. He's carrying the complexion, he's carrying the bhav of Sri Radha. He's Krishna. Of course, he's Krishna. His swarup is Krishna, but he's carrying the mood of Radhika. So he's demonstrating directly. When he's dancing, it's like as if he's dancing in Vrindavan with all the gopis. So that puts off a tremendous atmosphere. That puts off a tremendous effulgence, which all the devotees present were able to absorb. So then it became established, this principle of parakya. Then through the pristine teachings of Srila Rupa Goswami in particular, presenting it in such a sensitive way with every single detail of their rendezvous and their relationship and the types of sakis and the types of bhav that they experienced. If we look at this Ujjvala Nilamani, we see how many thousands and thousands of different types of gopis there are with their different moods and specialities of attraction to Krishna. And then, even beyond that, the Manjaris who serve Sri Radhika. All of this conception was only gifted by Mahaprabhu, digested by Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and then distributed through the mouthpiece, principally of Krishnadas Kaviraj. Krishnadas Kaviraj, like his guru Vargya, is like Rupa Goswami. He's there in Radhakund with Rupa Goswami. He's hearing, and Sanatana Goswami, and Raghunath Das in particular. So all these personalities have captured the essence, the bhakti sa that Mahaprabhu wanted to gift to the world. And Swarup Damodar, Rai Ramananda, these personalities, none other than Lalita and Radha Saki themselves, Lalita and Vishaka themselves. So Mahaprabhu has come with his entire entourage of Vrindavan Parikas, and he's gifting us this exceptionally special gift, never before given. And even at the time of Mahaprabhu's advent, so many could not understand it and appreciate it. And like we've said many times today, it's more available than it was even 500 years ago. So this is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur is referencing that the traditional dharmic path of dharma, artha, karma, moksha is actually deceptive, because it's not going to bring us to this bhakti ras conclusion. It'll keep us in another zone, so to speak. So Mahaprabhu's teachings, we should appreciate the rarity and speciality. Once in the seventh Manvantara, 14 Manus in a day of Lord Brahma, only once. One day of Lord Brahma, 4,320,000,000 years. That's a long duration. Earthly material man's history doesn't even go back that far. And yet the devotees, we go back even further. Reading our Srimad Bhagavatam all the way back to the very first breath of Karanadakshayi Vishnu and how the entire creation is manifesting. They don't have faith in that. They don't have faith in the Supreme because they are too proud of their bodily conception. And these four Purusartas are pertaining to the bodily conception. They're not taking one to transcendence. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving some exceptional gift here for our appreciation. Amidvamimam sadarme brahme nija jada buddhi
Buddhi Nirvishesha
nirvishesha
Brahma
brahma
Gyane
gyana
Nahi
yichita
Chitta Shuddhi.
suddhi.
Those who are deluded identify themselves with matter.
Yeah, you see, if you're deluded and identify yourselves with matter, how can you even think of the nature of bhakti ras? What to speak of parakya? You just would think, because of course the extramarital relationship is abominable in the material world. This is totally condemned. This is not to be honored, not to be imitated. But that supreme person, he can break, he's not bound by any moral codes. He doesn't need to follow what humanity have decided, what Manu has inscribed as the law for humanity. He is that supreme Lord. And he comes with his Shaktis to demonstrate even higher and higher tastes of conjugal ras, but transcendental. And the nature of this ras is it has no material lust, not even a smell of it attached to it. Otherwise, why would such respectable persons as Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, why would they have actually spent their lives contemplating these topics if there was a scent of lust in there? Why did Mahaprabhu banished from his darshan Chota
Chota
Haridas
Haridas.
just for looking at a woman. He just looked at the niece of one old lady with a lustful eye for one moment, and he was banned from Mahaprabhu's darshan. And a year later, he left his life at the Triveni. He took his life because um, that is actually what you should do. If you break that dharma, then you have no more standing in this world, and a respectable Vaishnava will leave his body. That's what's um, recommended. That there's no recourse. You can't change that. So how strict is that? So you see, on the material hand, Mahaprabhu is laying down such a strong law and hammer of how to behave in this world. And we absorb that in the mood of Vaidhi Marg. And we follow Vaidhi Marg very, very strictly and carefully. We've already gone through chapter 21, these 64 angas of bhakti, very carefully examining how we should behave, what we should do in every circumstance, because they support this path. The sages and rishis, they've manifested these rules and regulations to give support to the conditioned weak soul. The conditioned soul is very weak in this condition, in his conditioning. So the rules and regulations, they make us aware of our activities and actions in relationship to Krishna. What will please Krishna? I might think, oh, this will please Krishna, but no, according to Shastra, this will please Krishna. So I follow the Shastric injunction every single time, because then I'm assured that that's going to please Krishna. If I think, well, what's the problem? Just break it a little bit. Have some different foods during the month of Chaturmas. Then you break your vow. Then you don't get the full effect of the Chaturmasya Brat, for example. Just an example. So we try to understand, first of all, and be in knowledge of what are all the angas of Vaidhi Marg and follow that. But internally, we're celebrating totally the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and relishing the sweetness and speciality of Vrindavan Dham and all the different parakas, including the cows and the trees and the bushes and the river and the mountain, everything in Braj. Nothing is separate from Krishna's transcendental world.
That is their error. However, one cannot be purified of such delusion by endeavors for Nirvishesh Brahmagyan.
Nirvishesh Brahmagyan, we can, each time we see that, we can consider, oh yes, this is mukti, this is moksha, this is what it is. Nirvishesh Brahmagyan was the principal focus of um, the principal destination prior to Mahaprabhu, even amongst the Devas. The Devas, I've said many times, Brihaspati, he's considered Brahman realized. He is the spiritual master of all the demigods. So they meet Vishnu so many times. Vishnu comes to help them, but they don't consider, they don't have the adhikar because of their um, duties in the heavenly realm. They are powerful, powerful servants of Krishna, and they have to do that, like riding the orbit of the sun, arranging for Indra for the rain to fall, Vayudev the wind blowing, Agni Dev. These are incredibly important services to Vishnu. They understand it's Vishnu, but they understand that the supreme goal is actually beyond that in the impersonal life, because they don't have the opportunity to make that personal relationship, because there is so much Aishwarya in the service that they have to perform. But don't minimize the Devas in any way. They are servants of the Lord entirely, and we honor them in every way that we need to honor them. But we don't expect them to be able to offer us anything that is beyond this material sphere. They can't offer us something in the transcendental realm because they can't go there themselves, just like Lord Brahma can't offer immortality. He couldn't offer that to Hiranyakashipu. So like that, they don't have that in their hand, but they have great material wealth and so on, and they can nourish devotees in so many respects, but not in the transcendental realm.
Ivichit hina
Shratahinoi
hole
hole
nirvishesha
nirvishesha
hoy
hoy
kala
kala
saimatulya
samotulya
seya
seya
aprakrita
aprakritanai.
nai. The Mayavadi thinks Sri Krishna to be subject to the limitations of time, such as birth and death, and considers that he is not transcendental.
Because they don't know beyond that realm. They haven't had education beyond that realm. We are having education now. And how many people are actually absorbing this education? There might be many people wearing tilak and dressing like devotees and so on, but how are they seriously actually absorbing these transcendental topics into their daily lives? Not just hearing it with one ear and going out the other and then running out and doing something else, but actually trying to fully mold their lives about around trying to please Krishna with every activity they perform, in every single essence of their life, just to please that Supreme Lord. That's the only auspiciousness for the Jiva. There is no other auspiciousness except this. Thus, he rejects.
Thus, he rejects Sri Bhagavan's Vichitrata.
Yes, this astonishing characteristics. He doesn't have any um, idea of that astonishing world of Krishna beyond the material restrictions. We just said that the Mayavad, he's contained by the limitations of birth and death and material time and space. But the devotee, his vision is beyond that. So therefore, astonishing phenomena can take place in the devotee's lives easily. And the devotee doesn't become like overly bewildered by it. He just understands this is the potency of the Lord and he can accept it.
Astonishing characteristics, paraphernalia, qualities, and Leela. Through this vicious attempt, he is left with the philosophy of Nirvishesh Brahm.
That's all he's left with is mukti. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has to say it so many times
Hmm.
because, that desire for our own liberation is very, very deep. We're being pinched, we're being pricked, it's hurting. This material world is a painful place. Even if you've got a lot of material wealth and so on, it's still painful. You'll still get a toothache, you'll still get a headache, your body will still have problems. You'll still have problem with your wife and children and so on. You can't avoid adhyatmika bhautika devik. It can't be avoided. So there's suffering everywhere for the jiva. So we want to be liberated from that suffering. But there's a path of liberation, and there is something beyond the liberation. If it's just staying in the liberation zone, that's nirvishesh brahm.
Khanda
Khanda
Ghyana
gyane hoye
Haye
dharma
Dharma
ache
Acheshu
sunischaya
Nischaya
prakriti
Prakrita
hoyle
Haile Kabu
sabu aprakrtanaya.
Aprakratanaya. Such base and contemptible Gyan, which arises out of an attempt to dismember the divine form of Bhagavan, is only fit to be rejected. It is Prakrita, materialistic, and should never be given credence as Aprakrita Dharma.
Yes, we deny ourselves if we start to consider that these phenomena of um, mystic uh, visions or something of that nature is beyond this material world. We have to connect with Sambandha Gyan. This is what we're hearing in so many different chapters. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is stressing again and again. Without this Sambandha Gyan, like yesterday we talked something about different types of kirtan. Without Sambandha Gyan, then the kirtans don't have any real potency. But when Sambandha Gyan is there, then the kirtan has the most potency of everything. But there's always going to be a corrupt version of everything because people will want to cheat. They won't want to walk the path of transcendence because it demands that you give up your sense gratification. It means you give up your material goals. This is what he's saying again and again. these material dharmas. He's saying it from the very beginning. He says it all the way through. Because it's one thing to give up the material attachments and so on, but then the heart, the core, is still having these material desires to find some type of satisfaction in this world, somehow or other. So, well, without the Sambandha Gyan, nothing can transpire. So, I think, what page?
506.
506. Okay. So, yesterday we began this explanation of what is Bhava Bhakti. And we've come to this understanding. We're talking about the different verses and the descriptions of what is Shuddha Sattva. We discussed yesterday a little bit what was Sattva, but what is Shuddha Sattva? What is Vishuddha Sattva rather? Vishuddha Sattva carries us into transcendence. Which paragraph? One obtains knowledge of
3
an object.
from there.
Okay.
One obtains knowledge of an object, vastu, by means of the propensity for consciousness, samvit vritti.
Very important point. I just have to interrupt here because we're going to talk about this Sangvit Vritti, where it appears that Bhav manifests. This is going to be explained here now. Bhav is an eternal concomitant within the heart of the jiva. It's always there, but it's dormant. It's covered over. Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhav sasadanabhida. Now he's going to start this opening out, this explanation, and explaining how the nature of a vastu, how it begins with this sangvit, begins in the mind's consciousness. Okay.
Maharaj, what does Bhaktivinoda Thakur mean by saying that one obtains the knowledge of Vastu by means of propensity for consciousness?
Yes.
Everybody is conscious, right?
Yes, but you don't understand what is the nature of vastu. You don't understand that without the conscious mind, without the intelligence. The mind has to be there.
No,
One
he's saying,
obtains knowledge.
Huh.
He's saying that one obtains knowledge
of
an object
yeah,
with the brain. One
Huh.
obtains knowledge of an object, and the brain is described as
by means of propensity for consciousness.
Yes, that means intelligence.
Hmm.
Sangvit vritti is the name of intelligence. Sangvit is consciousness. Sandini, Sangvit, Vadini. Sandini is existence. Sangvit is consciousness. So consciousness is our intelligence, our mind, as limited or unlimited as that is at this point. So by the propensity of that, we can understand what is a vastu. Without the mind, how can you understand what a vastu is? Yes, understand?
Yeah, yes. And one tastes that object through the propensity for unalloyed bliss.
That's an incredible sentence. First of all, one understands what it is, and then when one tastes it, then one has realization of that. It's like, for example, if, I don't know, it's a hypothetical example because it would never happen, but if someone didn't know what was water, and then you explain to them what is water, but when they taste the water, then they know what is the water. They might know from their consciousness, oh, it's liquid, it runs, it's in rivers, etc., etc. But then when they actually taste it, that's the Hladini Shakti. When you have realization of what you understood in your mind is a better example. Can you think of a better example than that? If you're describing something,
If let's say you describe jamun,
a fruit,
jamun,
a fruit. No
Sweets.
one knows what jamun is.
Sweet,
Speak in English.
sweet, sweet.
A sweet. If you describe a sweet and no one's had a sweet,
That's sweet.
right?
Until and unless they
A
have it,
gulab jamun.
yeah,
Okay. Unless you've had a gulab jamun and then you try to describe it to
a person who's
a
not.
person who's never had a gulab jamun, they won't know what you're talking about.
Correct.
But they will understand something in your mind. You will describe, oh, it's round, it's sweet, it's either packed with sugar or honey, and it's fried, and it's very. They still don't quite know what it is. But when you put it in the mouth, that's when you have realization of it. That's a better example. Yes.
Prabhupada gives.
Yes. Oh, he gives that. Okay. Okay. So, but do you understand the conception?
Yes.
Because this is going to deepen from this one part of the equation, so to speak. This is the beginning of the equation. It appears to come from the mind, and then into the
Heart.
region of the heart. But actually, it's going to be understood it's already residing in the heart.
It's like
But
samskara.
yes, no, deeper than that. Deeper than that. Sanskaras are impressions that you make in billions of lifetimes. This is a seed that you've had eternally. You've always had this spiritual seed. It's always been there from the very beginning. You wouldn't have life without that seed. What is consciousness? The very root of consciousness is this seed of Jivera Swarabhoi Krishna Das. That's what's contained within the seed. I am an eternal servant of Krishna. That's inside the seed. The sanskar or sukriti are like your bank balance is accruing through many lifetimes to get to the position where you have the privilege to sit in Goradam, where you have the privilege to actually clean Krishna's temple, for example, to have the fortune to do something like that. This is creating immense sanskars within this birth for you by doing that simple activity of cleaning the temple. We think, oh, it's just cleaning the temple or something simple, but actually it's not. It's creating, because it's direct service to Krishna. It's direct service not only to Krishna, but to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Radha and Krishna, and Nityananda Prabhu, and Madan Mohan. So all these personalities, it's like direct. It's not ambivalent. It's not something a little vague or anything like that. It's direct. But what we're talking about is not a sanskar. It's the potential within every jiva. What nitya siddhyasya bhavasya. It's eternally residing. Eternally. That means from our very inception. We don't even have a place where we were conceived from, because we are eternal.
Like Krishna.
We have always been. And we're coming from an eternal place, which is in the region of the Brahmajyoti. That's where we're coming from. We're coming from an eternal place. So it's always been there, not Sukriti, no. It's different.
Krishna is the supreme object, and his Swarupa can only be known through the all enlightening propensity of Swarupa Shakti.
Swarupa Shakti is Sri Radha.
Hmm.
Sri Radha's sevaks will bring us that potency of Swarup Shakti, the Mahabhagavat, the realized Tattvavit Sadguru. He's carrying the current of that Swarup Shakti. Therefore, he has the propensity to inject that Swarup Shakti into the heart of the jiva. This is what we've discussed before about Ritvik, etc. Unless that is injected, bhaktya sanjataye bhaktya. Bhakti comes only from bhakti. Bhakti herself is completely independent. She doesn't manifest just by good deeds. She doesn't manifest just by Krishna's mercy. She manifests from the heart of one who has bhakti. That is the pure devotee. So from Swarup Shakti
And
his,
not by the mental faculty of the marginal jivas.
yes. In other words, you can't use empiric knowledge, bhautik gyan. It's not the avaroha panta, this aroha panta rather. It's the avaroha panta. It's not the ascending process. It's the descending process. Understand everything?
Yes.
Is it clear? Prabhu, is it clear?
When the Swarup Shakti manifests herself within the heart of the jiva by the mercy of Krishna or of his bhakta,
That is actually like the same. The bhakta is carrying the mercy of Krishna. So it's very rare that it's Krishna directly who's manifesting this. Because Krishna always wants to glorify his dear devotee, his bhakta. He always loves to glorify his bhakta. So just like with Arjun, Krishna could have annihilated all the warring armies in a moment on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, but he wanted his devotee, Arjun, to become glorious in that effort, and all the other Pandavas. So he is very happy when his devotee performs these acts. So Krishna will empower the heart of that devotee.
Then the cognitive faculty, samvit vritti of the Swarupa Shakti, begins to act within the heart.
The Sangvit Vritti, the
That
knowledge
we have that
potency map.
chart.
Yes, yes,
In that it is there.
yes, yes. So everyone understanding the progression here,
Hmm.
because this is very important to appreciate that bhav is already in the heart, but it appears to manifest through the mental faculty, through the Sangvit Vritti. But in fact, it's already there. But it's, you see, it's like, for example, a Mahabhagavat in his birth, he doesn't
Hmm.
perhaps appreciate that he's a Mahabhagavat. He's covered over by Yogamaya, just like all the Nityasiddha Parikas of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They didn't know their previous births, who they were. Mahaprabhu revealed them to them. They didn't understand. They weren't walking around when they were children thinking, oh, I'm Mahavishnu. They weren't thinking, although Mahavishnu perhaps was, because that deity cracked when he was
Hmm.
very young. But other personalities, they didn't understand their previous um, elevated births and so on. So it's covered. So the realization of that begins from the mental quantum. It starts from that place, and then it enters into the heart. But it's already actually in the heart. Sanbit Vritti of the
So,
Swarup
of the
Shakti.
Swarup Shakti begins to act within the heart. When that happens, knowledge of the spiritual realm, Chit Jagat, is revealed.
Yes, that means you have deep, deep. The spiritual realm is only made of love. So when your attraction and affection and devotion towards Sri Radha and Krishna, Vrindavan, all the parikas of Vrindavan, is genuinely blossoming, then you have the vision to see pure Vrindavan. That is the vision. It's based on the principle of love and affection. When that love is rising towards the kingdom of Vrindavan, towards all those parikas, towards Goradam, towards Mahaprabhu, when that attraction becomes in the realm of the heart and with devotion. So he's explaining, actually, he's scrolling through the um, deeper intricacies of Sambandha Gyan, because it has to be with attraction and affection
Hmm.
for the spiritual personalities. And that's when you have the vision.
Is revealed. The spiritual world is constituted of Shuddha Sattva, whereas the material world is constituted of a combination of the three material modes of Sattva, Rajas, and Tama.
The spiritual world is a completely other dimension. Therefore, yogis, etc., who are hovering on a different sort of level of perception through their austerities and so on, cannot enter into the, it's still material, because it has to be, you have to have a passport and have it stamped, just like in this world. You know, you have to have the connection. You can't just cross into transcendence. What would you do if you suddenly did? What's the story of, is it Vishwamitra, the one who was trying to, um, no, he was supporting one devotee who wanted to be a Brahma Rishi,
Hmm.
but he didn't have the qualification for it. And he's left just hanging in the atmosphere. I've forgotten the name of that devotee. But there's a whole story in the Bhagavatam of one person. And he was being supported by Vishwamitra. He was trying to give him the right strength, the yogic strength. But he couldn't make it because Indra wouldn't even allow him to come into Swagaloka. What to speak of the transcendental world? So we have to have our, we have to be given our passport for the transcendental world. That's given by the Mahabhagavat, and it has to be stamped. That means we have to hear what he's saying, what are his instructions, How do we proceed?
The essential combination of Hladini with the knowledge of the spiritual world enables one to taste the sweetness of that spiritual realm. And when that taste attains fullness, it is called prem.
Yes. So the Sangvit Vritti is mixing with the Hladini Shakti in the area. When we say heart, we mean like the pure emotional, the pure spontaneous feeling condition. It's beyond any mental conception. It's just the reality of pure affection. Then, when these two mix, it becomes prem. But there's a stage before that it'll describe.
If prem is compared to the sun, bhav can be compared to a ray, kirana, of the sun. The constitutional nature, swarup, of bhav is that it is a ray of the sun of prem, and its unique characteristic, visheshata, is that it purifies the heart of the jiva and thus causes the heart to become softened or melted. Mashrana.
Shuddha Sattva,
Visheshatma.
Visheshatma, Prem, Suryavams, Samyavak. Mrishnina, what's that? Mrishnina, um, Ruchibis,
Hmm.
Chita Mrishnina, uh, Shud Ashu Bhav Uchyate. This verse, it begins Shuddha Sattva, Visheshatma, Prem, Suryavams, Samyavak. Ruchibis, Chita Mrishnu, Shud Ashu Bhav Uchyate. This is the verse, this Mrishnu, melting of the heart. Is in given this verse by Rupa Goswami, and this is describing that it's a ray of the sun of Prem, is Bhav. Now we're coming to some very interesting topics just now.
The word ruchi signifies three desires. These are the desire to attain the service of Radha and Krishna,
Now
Prapti Abhilash.
I would request everyone to write these three desires down. It's fascinating because many times I've been previously going in different groups of devotees and I've asked them all, do you have a desire to attain the service of Krishna? Who has that? Everyone puts their hands up. And then you go further.
The desire to do that which is favorable for Krishna's pleasure, Anukulya Abhilash,
That's going up. Now this is more for Krishna's pleasure.
Uttama Bhakti,
This is
Anukulya.
higher. And then the next one is even
And
higher.
the desire to serve Krishna with love and affection, Sahurudha Abhilash,
Yeah, so these three, Bhagavat Prapti Abhilas, Anukul Prapti
Seva,
Abhilas, and
Anukula Abhilash,
Sohad
Saurad Abhilash.
Abhilas. These three, very important. It's a progression of states of consciousness. But it's very easy for us to think about these three different levels. They're
Prapti,
not the same.
Anukul,
Bhagavat Prapti Abhilas, it's called. This is the desire to serve Krishna. That's a very high, elevated. But then again, what is the desire to serve Krishna
Anukul,
favorably? Perhaps Krishna, you're thinking, oh, I'm serving Krishna by doing this. But then there's a higher, if we consider Krishna more deeply, we'll understand what is more favorable to Krishna. Krishna only loves to be with Sri Radhika. If I can arrange for his meeting with Radhika, that is even more favorable for Krishna. It's not talking about me, it's talking about Krishna. And then to make friends, to have that object of devotion as our very closest, most intimate friend, mood,
Hmm.
in service. But the friend, he always has the absolute respect at heart for the object. Always there's not this familiarity. In the material world, we always think, oh, that's like my buddy or something like that. No, no, no. It's like my Gurudev describes what is the nature of Madhurya. Madhurya is not just sweet. If it's sweet without Aishwarya, then it's it's just like a mundane thing. If you don't have the full respect behind it, there has to be the full appreciation of the speciality and the um, greatness. But that greatness gets submerged. We've given that example many times that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur
Salt.
gives when you take the spoonful of salt. The salt is representing Aishwarya. And if you put it in a glass of water and you mix it up, it's very salty. This is like the Aishwarya in Vaikuntha. It's only small Aishwarya and a small amount of Madhurya. The water is Madhurya. But then if you take a whole sack of salt and you throw it into the Ganga, how much salt are you going to taste from the Ganga? Because the water represents the Madhurya, and it's so much more than the 20-kilo sack of salt. So it gets covered. So the residents of Braj have much, much more Aishwarya at heart than the residents of Vaikuntha, but it's covered by a billion times more sweetness. So in this relationship of sweetness, unless there's the Aishwarya at heart, then it can become very weak and meager. It's not really transcendental. So try to understand this point I'm saying in relationship to these three desires. So first of all, the desire to serve Krishna, then the desire
Bhakti,
anukul,
Anukulya
do
Abhilash,
something favorable for Krishna, and then the desire
Sahrud,
to do it with great
love and
mamata, with great friendship, or tadatmika.
Bhav can be described as the first glimpse of prem. The
You see,
word
because we can't absorb prem in this body, we've said many times, the body would explode with the heat of prem. We can only reach the stage of bhav, and that is the ray that is indicating where is when we reach the stage of prem, then that's the stage when we actually take birth from a gopi in Boma Vrindavan on another planetary system where Krishna is performing his pastimes. And then we associate with the Nitya Siddhas, we've already discussed that. And then by their association, then prem can fully blossom. Then it comes to sneha, man, pranaya, rag, anurag, bhav,
Bhav,
mahabhav, modan, mohan. These other stages go up and up and up and up. But prem is the limit of the sadhak's journey.
the word mashrana means softness and melting of the heart. Bhav has been described in the Tantra as the preliminary state of prem,
Mm.
and when it arises, horripilation and other transformations of ecstasy, sattvika vikar, are manifested slightly. However, the state of bhav is self established, swatah siddha.
This is what I've been saying from the very beginning. It's already in the heart. It's
Hmm.
Swata Siddha. It's already there. We're just going to uncover it.
In the Nitya Siddha Bhaktas,
Yes.
uh, which means that Shuddha Sattva is eternally present in them. So there is no question of it becoming manifest in them.
And it's the same for the conditioned jiva. The conditioned jiva already has that seed. Nitya
Siddhasya
siddhyasya
bhavasya.
bhavasya prakritam in potential. Prakritam means potential. Rupa Goswami has explained like this. The Nitya siddhas already have this blossomed. That is already blossomed. But for those conditioned souls, they are performing their sadhan bhakti and their practices, etc., to purify the consciousness initially, and that purification of consciousness will naturally flow into the heart. The heart, the spontaneous activities will become purified, and then that will mix with the Pladini Shakti. You understand?
Hmm.
This is like the analysis. Go ahead. In the Bada Jiva,
In the
this
Baddha Jiva, this state of bhav first manifests in the mental faculties, manovritti, and then becomes identified swarupata with them. Therefore, although bhav is self manifest, swayam prakasha, it appears that it did not exist previously, and that its manifestation was brought about by something else, prakashaya.
So I've talked about this from the very beginning. It appears that it's coming from some other place, but it's already there. I've been saying this from the very beginning of today's speaking. Okay.
The natural function of bhav is to reveal the intrinsic identity, swarup of Krishna and his sweet
This
pastimes.
is what it will naturally do. When that stage of bhav begins to manifest, that means that I am already become so much attracted to Vrindavan Dham and all the personalities within Vrindavan Dham. And I'm developing my internal relationship with all those personalities of Vrindavan Dham. I'm hearing about Mukara. I'm hearing about Yashodama. I'm hearing about Nanda Baba. I'm hearing about Sridham, Subal, Madhumangal, etc., Punamasi. I'm becoming familiar with all the personalities. I'm also becoming familiar with all the places of the pastimes within Braj. So this familiarity with Braj, it's the beginning, it's the very beginning. It demonstrates that I have some interest in that realm. And then if bhav becomes manifest, then my attraction becomes even more acute to that realm, becomes deeper and deeper and deeper. This is what bhav means. Bhav means that I'm filled with divine affection and love for Vrindavan and all its residents. But Rupa Goswami has said we should follow a single resident, and we understand this single resident is Radharani and her different manjaris. And those manjaris are in the form of our Guru Vargya. Okay.
Bhav manifests in the mental faculties manovritti, yet it appears to have been manifested by some other faculty of knowledge.
Mm.
In reality, the nature, swarup, of rati is self tasting, swayam asvadana swarupa. In other words, it is itself the object of taste and enjoyment for the bhakta. And yet, at the same time, it becomes the cause of the Baddha Jiva releasing Krishna and his Leela.
There has to be pleasure for the jiva, otherwise, how could it attract Krishna's mercy? But that pleasure is not our principal focus. It's like the gopis. If the gopis are all morose, how is Krishna going to appreciate their company in the Ras Leela? The gopis are totally ecstatic. They're experiencing the emotion of Mahabhav, which is way, way up from the stage of Bhav that we are talking about. So they are in utter anand, utter bliss. And then Krishna, when he's dancing with them, that bliss will increase. So the devotee, he also experiencing great pleasure and happiness. But that isn't the principle why he's practicing. He's practicing to bring Krishna pleasure. And of course, he will become pleasurable by doing that. He'll become satisfied by doing that. Just like, for example, if you want to serve with the bucket and go around and give all the rice and dal, etc., to the devotees, you're serving them. You're serving them. But you become very satisfied by doing that activity. And then when you're doing that activity joyfully, all the devotees are going to be joyful by your seva. Understand? So similarly, by serving Krishna with a joyful heart, then Krishna will also reciprocate in such a way. It's very simple. It's nothing complex. I just say something very, very basic, really. How many types of bhav are
Should
there?
we continue?
No, we can stop here. Okay, this is actually a very deep subject matter, but I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making it seem and sound very simple. But this state of consciousness of bhav can take many lifetimes to actually achieve. Don't think it's just easily available. This is not the case. Actually, we are in the stage perhaps of anartha nivriti.
Yes.
And then coming through there, we come to nishta. Nishta is a very, very elevated stage. Nishta is the stage that we hear Prahlad Bhakta. He's famous for his nishta, his unswerving focus on the Lord, even in the utmost danger. I mean, are we going to be suddenly afraid of death or afraid of some material, the ceiling dropping on my head or something? This would indicate my nishta is very weak. I'm still in the stage of anartha nibriti, because we may talk about these things, but the actual realization of these truths takes time and practice, and above all, mercy and association. Association of the Dhams. If people can come to Vrindavan for Kartik, this is really good and helpful, or to Goradam for Gorpanim, this is really helpful. And the association of devotees who like to talk about these topics, who like to enter into the topics of Vrindavan Dham, the topics of Lila. So, by this mercy, this Avaroha Panta, this descending mercy, then we can progress then from Nishta to Ruchi. Some taste is coming. But then even higher than that taste is asakti. Asakti is when that taste is overwhelming. I can't withdraw my consciousness from the mood of service and pleasing Krishna at all, because that is just prior to the mood of bhav, to the stage of bhav. So this is our path. But the path of those spiritually enlightened Nityasiddha Parikas, or those that cross the other side of the stage of prem, that goes, these are Nityasiddhas. This Sneha Man Pranay, it's described that Yashodama was completely in the stage of Sneha. She was experiencing that stage. That Pranaya is the stage between Radha and Krishna. And Man, that stage is there between Radha and Krishna only. And then Anurag. This is in the stage, the queens of Dwarka can achieve the stage of Anurag. And many of the Sakhas can. Some of the Sakhas will even experience Mahabhav. Sridham, Subal, etc. Subal in particular, they will actually come in contact with Radhika. Even a little scent of Madanakya Mahabhav may be there momentarily for those Priyanam Sakhas in different situations and circumstances. I was just listening to my Gurudev saying, if Subal is trying to pacify the man of Sri Radhika, and at that time she's feeling this mohan mood of separation from Krishna, then Subal also, he will get tadatmik with that mood. He will taste something. So they have that eligibility, but that's very limited. That's only one or two sakhas. So it's mostly reserved for the sakhis. So many different considerations here. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving us the very simple analysis, the very first steps, just to see, are you interested in this topic? Will you actually go beyond the 22nd chapter, or will you stop here? Or will you read the next 3 chapters about Nam and then stop? Who will actually go to the Rasa Tattva section? Very few. Okay, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Bhav Bhakti ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrind ki jai, Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo, Vanchakalpa Rubyascha, Kripa Sindhu Devaja, Patidanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.